Hey guys, Carolyn here from Diaries of a Business Owner, and today I am joined by Brad Clark. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So Brad is the owner of West Bremer Radio, which was founded back in 2018. And since then, Brad's actually just about to create a new business, which is West Bremer Media, which is basically a branch of West Bremer Radio. It's all about podcasts, which is what we're doing today. But Brad has his physical podcast studio. So today we're just going to have a chat to Brad about why he started West Bremer Radio back in 2018, the things he's learned in those 6 going on 7 years, and why he's decided to take the plunge in opening a second business.
It's because I'm a sucker for punishment, Carolyn.
Sucker for punishment. See, small business owners.
I'm all for it. So basically, we opened West Bremer Radio back in 2018. We felt that there was a real gap in the market to tell local stories and to tell them on a personal base. And we felt like there was just another radio station within Ipswich. There was the QT and then one other newspaper, and that was it. So we felt that there was a real chance to tell some stories and get people on the radio to tell their stories that wouldn't normally get the chance to. So we went along our way. West Bremer Radio started in the back room of my house, like most tech startups do. So we continued along that trail until COVID hit in 2020. And then we opened up this place.
Opened it up during COVID?
Yeah. Not our brightest time, but we did that so we officially started broadcasting out of here in August 2020.
Okay. So what made you move from the back room to your own studio?
One, to make a statement. We always wanted our own space. And that studio I affectionately still know as the Shoebox Studio. It's literally about 2 meters by 1.5. So it was literally like myself and Damo, my business partner and also co-host on the Brekkie Club, would get in there and that was it. By the time all the gear got in there was not much room for anything else.
Okay.
So we got out of there. So we've got more space here. We were able to put an office, a waiting room, a second studio in there, also a place to put all of our gear as well. So it just made sense on a business level, but also on a marketing level. So if you've ever driven past our place here in the top of town, we've got our logo plastered out the front. We've got everything so we can actually, get the word out that we're here.
I love that.
And we're telling local stories, right?
I also love as well that you sort of did a step-by-step approach. You sort of had small growth. So you started in the back room, 2018, and then you opened up this secondary studio. And so
in the lead up, so I had a couple of announcers with me.
Yes.
That were like literally coming to my house.
Okay.
To do the broadcasting, and then that was the other motivator to actually open this, so other announcers wouldn't feel like they were scooting around my house to get in and do their shifts. They could come.
So this was the second studio?
This is the second studio.
Okay,
and
fantastic.
My favourite.
And so you've been here since 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And what did that look like as far as like setup and costs? And how did you work out what you could afford, what you couldn't afford, where you were going to start?
Yeah, so there was still a little bit of money that we'd put aside because I'd originally come from a theatre background. That's how I kind of started my work in the real world, if you like, straight out of school. Anyway, when we moved out here, we still had a little bit of money from that move. So that was put aside for this fit out. I think we initially put 10 grand aside for the fit out. Like all fit outs, number increases. So it came to about 13 by the time we put all the walls in and put the soundproofing in for the studio and bits and pieces like that. And then it was literally an overnight bump in to bring all the gear over from the last studio. So we didn't actually stop broadcasting. We kept everything moving, and then there was about an hour where we popped the computer out. We literally raced it here, plugged it all back in, and we started spinning up music again.
And that's pretty normal too with people that are relocating to new spaces. They generally don't have a lot of downtime between when the business closes in one location and then needs to reopen in a new location. So, was that a stressful time for you, Brad?
Oh, it was terribly stressful, terribly stressful. But look, we got through it. There was some very good friends of mine were with me and every step of the way. So when we were bumping in, we had someone here in the studio setting up all that tech stuff. Then while I was out the back setting up the main master control, so we had all hands on deck essentially to make sure we were back online as soon as possible.
So you had a good support network around you.
Yeah, which I think is important. So when you start something, especially as crazy as an internet radio station, which you wouldn't even think is actually possible that you can make money out of, it's good to have that support network behind you. So when you do have that crazy idea, they kind of say, okay, but make sure you've got these in place first.
Yeah, definitely. Good advice from many people.
Yeah.
Excellent. So talk to me about the last 4 years. So you've been here for 4 years now.
Yeah.
You've got your 2 studios. Have you noticed that your content is increasing?
Yeah, we've also created a name for the community. We've got a good name out there in terms of the state and also local politicians. They deliver us content on a daily basis. We have regular contributors for our sporting content and our outside of kind of scope content. I think, I did a story literally last week about a powerlifter here in Ipswich, which I didn't even think would, be even doing. But, it's one of those good, feel-good local stories that that I really like telling, and people are excited to then get on top of that,
So talk to me about this. So that was one of the things that you wanted to achieve anyway, wasn't it? Real people in the local community telling their stories and sharing it to the locals.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've achieved your initial goal.
Yeah.
And is that why you've now decided to open West Bremer Media?
Yeah, it was a fundamental part and obvious, and I feel a step in the right direction. Obviously, we've got our studio here. We've started to dabble in video content as well. We've started to put cameras in the studio. So it was a natural progression to move into that podcasting space, which is just huge. I mean, it's saturated, but it's huge, right? And there's a podcast coming out every day. And there was a stat that Australians are the biggest listeners of podcasts in the world. It even surpasses the US. So I saw that stat and I thought, look, let's complement what we do at the radio. And the radio's not going to go away. It's simply just a brand new arm. It's West Bremer Media, and we're making strides to help people tell the stories that they want to tell.
I think that's fantastic. And you are right, it is just a branch of what you're currently doing. But I think that sort of really brings into question innovation. So, you've got the businesses that are in business for long terms and they don't sort of grow, change and evolve with the current marketplace, and they sort of start to fizzle out. But it sounds like you've sort of gone, okay, cool, podcasting's where it's at. We want to continue running the radio station and keep growing that, but we also want to be able to offer this other service to make sure you're capturing as much marketplace as possible.
Yeah, and look, I think, we've been innovating from the start. Internet radio has been... it's a joy to play around in that space, but it's very innovative in its own way, right? To actually be a local part of that. And literally anyone can listen to us right around the world. So we even find that we're getting ex-Ipswich people listening to us to find out what is going on in Ipswich, which is just crazy, right? So this was the next logical step to actually still play in that digital space, but actually help people tell their own stories, which is something, established, I just love doing.
That's fantastic. Okay, so obviously you've been in business now for 6 years, going on 7 years, but it's not the only thing you do. You also work for local government as well in the library.
Didn't think you were going to bring this up. Yeah, I did. I still do. And it's a bit of a juggling act at times to support. So I literally work down in Nicholas Street for council. I then sneakily race back to the studio here in the top of town on my lunch breaks. I'll bash out a little bit of work and then I will literally walk back to and do what I need to do there. And then of course that time outside of those work hours, then I'm also working on this as well. So it is a juggling act, but I think if you like what you do, it doesn't feel like a chore to do that. It doesn't feel as though you're, saying, oh, I don't really get a break because I'm doing this. Like, this feels great to do this and what I do, and I just love it.
That's some pretty good advice. So you can handle more spinning plates as long as you love what you're doing.
Yeah, and look, and there is a threshold. Like, there is a time where you go, oh my God, I'm just looking forward to a break, right? But on the whole, it's just about loving what you do and helping those people. And you do feel like you're helping those people, which makes me feel good.
That's really cool. So are you glad that you created West Bremer Radio?
Yes.
So you do it again?
Yeah.
All right. Well, in that, what do you think was like one of the things that you would definitely do differently if you had your time over?
Definitely leadership training or dealing with staff. I've just from a business owner standpoint, staff is
an uncontrollable variable?
Yes. And I mean, you find some absolute gems in there that will, have the same vision as you do, and they're willing to push for it, and then the others. I just wish I'd maybe got, or I've done a couple of things differently. Maybe the staff could be managed a little bit better.
Okay. Look, I think that's a really good point. But at the end of the day, everybody's so vastly different. But it is right, just learning maybe some professional development, doing a team leadership course, or how to deal with different personalities, or even how to refine recruitment processes.
Exactly.
So that you eliminate the ones that don't align with the goals.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the big things that I would, if I had a chance to go back and redo it all, then that's what I'd do. I'd go and get some training or go and do some more research on how to onboard people.
I love that. That's pretty cool. So out of the whole 6 years...
And that's pretty candid, right? Like, yeah. I haven't told, and I'm just going to do it on your podcast, right? I haven't told many people that before, but it's just... when you're racing back and forward, especially as I do, you need to put a lot of trust in people.
But that's amazing advice to the people that are out there listening. They might be thinking of starting a business and they need to onboard some people, and they might be like, well, I've never been in a leadership position, or I've never had to manage staff or do recruitment. So that's really good. And obviously, if it's not something that you can do, you can always entrust the services of a recruitment agency or somebody like that are specialists in it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually you could be the best video editor or audio editor or radio person in the world, but it is completely different when you're talking about leadership and dealing with staff and dealing with a team, and I just wish probably I'd gone more help.
But that's fantastic. Okay, cool. So we've spoken about what you would have done differently. Now, what do you want to achieve moving forward into the future with your now 2 businesses?
So obviously the goal is to make West Bremer still a local media leader in this space. That's been the ongoing goal for a while now, and that's still going to be ongoing in the background. We have no interest in closing down West Bremer Radio and continuing to keep that content rolling out on a daily basis. In terms of the podcast, we've got a little bit of a big, hairy, audacious goal, as I call it. We'd actually like to formulate a 24-hour podcasting solution. And we're not quite sure how that's going to look like just yet, but we're pretty excited to just venture into that space and actually make it easier for people to get access to a studio on their terms.
I love that. That sounds like a pretty cool goal.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we've talked about a lot today. We've covered some good ground, why you started, where you're at, what you do differently, and where you want to be. But for anybody out there listening, because obviously West Bremer Radio is such a unique business. There's not a lot of people that would just wake up one day and think about creating an internet radio station.
There isn't.
So for
just me.
Yeah, just you. So for the people out there that maybe have a business model idea that no one is doing at the moment, was really very different, what advice would you give to that person or those people?
Do a lot of research. I think that's important. Know your market. That's the big thing I've also learnt. Knowing your market and who you're reaching out to and making sure there is a market there. Test the market, make a prototype, and see if there is interest for it. Because if you've done the research and you feel like there is a gap in the market that you can fill with that product, then go for it.
Fantastic. That's really good advice. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Brad. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
To everybody else out there, I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Diaries of a Business Owner. Please make sure you like it and comment if you do, and share it to anybody in your community that you think will benefit from this today. Well, until next time, have a wonderful day.
Listen to West Bremer.